Hello, my name is Amy Fox, and on behalf of the entire Grande Cares project team from Colorado State University and University of Hawaii at Manoa, I'd like to introduce you to our next webinar on the importance of evidence-based programs when working with grand families. Before we begin today, I would like to acknowledge and thank our funder, the United States Department of Agriculture, National Institute of Food and Agriculture, Children, Youth, and Families at Risk Sustainable Community Projects for their support of this webinar. Further, we want to acknowledge a colleague of ours, Ruth Wilson at Colorado State University, for her technical assistance with recording and posting this webinar. As previously stated, this webinar is funded by USDA NIFA and meets one of our 3 project objectives. The objectives of this project are to first focus on grandparent self-care. We are doing this by offering the Powerful Tools for Caregivers Grand Families 6-week class to promote self-care practices and stress reduction techniques while connecting grandparents to community resources. If you are not familiar with Powerful Tools for Caregivers, please go to powerfultoolsforcaregivers.org. Second, address the needs of grandchildren. We created and are now implementing a 6-week course to build self-care and leadership skills among 9 to 12-year-olds. Finally, it is well known in the literature that service providers working with grand families want more education and information about the complexities grand families experience on a daily basis. Further, grandparents often state that they are leery of working closely with case managers, social workers, and even school liaisons for fear of losing their grandchildren. As a result, our 3rd objective is to create webinars for service providers with the hope of increasing the ability of providers' strength-based approaches to effectively support resilience in grand families. Notice in this slide that we use the same picture to represent grandparents and service providers. That's because grandparents are a lot like all of us. They are just people whose grown children are unable or unwilling to care for their children. From our experiences working with grandparents, we know they are doing their best to bring stability to their grandchildren's lives. Please note, when we say service providers, we include case managers, social workers, mental health counselors, family liaisons, school teachers, and other interested parties, including but not limited to support group facilitators, extension agents, and community volunteers. The purpose of this webinar is to offer suggestions and tools for supporting your work with grand families from a strengths-based approach. Knowing how and why to use evidence-based programs increases your capacity to best serve and support grand families. So, what are evidence-based programs? Evidence-based programs are based on rigorous study of the effects or outcomes of specific interventions or model programs. They demonstrate reliable and consistently positive changes in important health and well-being outcomes. Program effectiveness has been demonstrated using a study design with sufficient scientific rigor. This increases confidence that outcomes observed in the study are a result of the program rather than unknown factors that might contribute to the change. It also increases confidence that the program does not produce unintended harmful or negative effects. Program effectiveness has been demonstrated in large studies with diverse populations or through multiple replications. This increases our confidence that the outcomes are generalizable across diverse populations and settings. Programs must demonstrate significant and sustained effects. Studies verify that positive effects are sustained over time. Why use evidence-based programs? Evidence-based programs work. They have been carried out with multiple populations in a variety of settings, rigorously studied, and therefore are more likely to produce positive changes or outcomes for people who participate. Evidence-based programs are based on research and provide documented health benefits. In short, evidence-based programs are proven effective, provide cost savings, reduce the work of developing a program, improve health and well-being outcomes for grand families, and help change population prevalence rates of problems. How to choose an evidence-based program. First, identify what your organization is interested in addressing as a result of Grandfamilies' needs, assets, priorities, capacity, and goals. These factors will help determine the fit between the evidence-based program and the Grandfamilies you serve and your organization. A number of government and non-government organizations have put together registries that list and rank evidence-based programs as a way to disseminate information about programs and their levels of effectiveness. A blog post supplemental to this presentation will provide examples and links to evidence-based program registries. Finally, the goal is to select the program that works best for you with your resources and in your context, because evidence-based programs will not work the same for everyone. Make sure to choose a program that had an impact for Grandfamilies. Consider the costs of the program startup, implementation, and sustainability. This includes materials, initial and ongoing training, and program products. Finally, make sure the program aligns with the structure of your organization, is consistent with your organizational culture, and aligns with interventions and programs you have in place. What makes programs effective? Programs that have demonstrated their ability to help families in real-world conditions are said to be effective. This means that a program that has been rigorously tested under controlled conditions must be successfully implemented in a community agency. If the program continues to improve family knowledge, skills, and health, it is considered effective. Effective programs appear to share several characteristics. Grandfamilies have contact with a helper over time. Grandfamilies contact with a helper who has specific intervention protocols to follow. Interventions are tailored to Grandfamilies' specific needs. Multi-component interventions that include a combination of knowledge, skill building, problem solving, and counseling. Interventions with higher intensity, meaning greater frequency and duration. And programs developed and implemented locally and involving agency collaboration. Our Grande Cares project is utilizing powerful tools for caregivers, an existing evidence-based self-care program for family caregivers of adults that emphasizes communication and self-care. We are currently testing an adapted curriculum with grandparent caregivers to evaluate its effectiveness for Grandfamilies. In addition, we have created a youth club program based on 4-H principles for children being raised by grandparents or kin. Our youth club program is moving towards being evidence-based with current testing and evaluation efforts. By sharing the importance of using evidence-based programs with service providers, we hope to build community capacity to support the needs and strengths of Grandfamilies. Using evidence-based programs increases service providers' capacity to improve outcomes for Grandfamilies. This concludes our webinar on evidence-based programs. We hope that you join us for upcoming webinars discussing topics such as microaggressions in Grandfamilies, working with the middle generation, and Grandfamilies in stress. If you have any ideas on topics you would like to see discussed in the future, please contact a member of our team. Further, if you have any questions about the material discussed in this webinar, or if you are interested in learning more about the Grande Cares project and possibly bringing it to your community, please contact me by email. Our project website is grandecares.colostate.edu. Finally, in an effort to assist us in further future planning, please click here and take 5 minutes to complete a short survey about this webinar. Thank you, the Grande Cares project team.